Welcome! In today's visual guide, we're diving into a massive economic shift. We're moving right away from traditional factories and stepping squarely onto the stage of the modern service economy. We're going to completely reframe how you think about marketing, literally taking it off the assembly line and putting it right into the theater.
Okay, let's dive into this by contrasting two very, very different types of purchases. Think about buying a bottle of shampoo, right? It's highly predictable. You hold it, you check the label, it sits on your shelf for months, and it just does exactly what it's supposed to do. But a haircut, getting a haircut is an entirely different beast. It can be a high anxiety, completely unpredictable experience. Think about that terrifying moment when the stylist finally spins your chair around to the mirror for the big reveal. You can't touch or inspect the final result before you commit to buying it, can you? That's because the haircut side of the economy operates by a completely different set of rules. So to master this new economy and really figure out that haircut side of things, we're going to walk through 5 essential stages today. First, the unique anatomy of service marketing. Second, measuring invisible quality. Third, the theater of the service business. Fourth, pricing and channel strategies. And finally, the service recovery paradox. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the unique anatomy of service marketing. As global economies shift massively from manufacturing tangible goods to delivering intangible experiences, we absolutely must decode the fundamental DNA of a service. And we do that using 4 pillars known as IHIP. First, services are intangible. You literally can't hold them in your hand. They're also inseparable, meaning the service and the person delivering it are, permanently tied together. If a bank teller is in a bad mood, that bad mood intrinsically becomes a bad banking product. This leads directly to variability. Services are rarely the exact same twice. And finally, perishability. This one is crucial. Imagine the sheer panic of a hotel manager staring at the clock at 11:59 p.m. with 20 empty rooms. The revenue from those rooms perishes forever at midnight. You can't exactly box up those unbooked nights and sell them tomorrow, right?
Moving right along to Section 2, measuring invisible quality.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that measuring quality is traditionally a marketer's biggest nightmare. How on earth do you objectively measure the quality of something you can't even see? Well, the definitive solution to that nightmare is the gaps model. In the service world, quality isn't about factory defect rates. It's strictly psychological. It is defined entirely by the gap, or the distance, between what a customer expected before the service and what they actually perceived during and after it. If their perception exceeds their expectation, boom, you have high quality. But if some overhyped ad sets expectations way too high and the actual experience falls short, you've got a massive gap you desperately need to fix. To actually measure that subjective gap, the industry relies on the ServQual dimensions, which is commonly known as RADAR. We evaluate reliability, assurance, tangibles, empathy, and responsiveness. Now, top-tier brands don't just know these terms. They use them as strategic levers. Take Singapore Airlines, for instance. They absolutely obsess over tangibles and empathy, down to the exact temperature of the hot towels they hand out before takeoff. By mastering these highly specific, seemingly invisible details, they can confidently command premium prices in an insanely competitive market.
That brings us to Section 3, the theater of service business.
Now that we know what a service actually is, we really need to rethink how we deliver it. We have to completely throw away the factory assembly line and start viewing our business as a grand theatrical production. The service marketing triangle perfectly maps out this analogy. First up, you have external marketing. Think of this as the shiny poster outside the theater making a grand promise to the audience. Then comes internal marketing, which is the crucial rehearsal where management trains and motivates the actors, in this case your employees. Finally, interactive marketing. That's the live performance on stage at the moment of truth. Think about your own business for a second. If management fails during that internal rehearsal, your frontline workers are pretty much guaranteed to bomb on stage during the live performance. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why our business strategy tools had to adapt. The traditional 4 Ps of marketing, product, price, place, and promotion, worked perfectly for the factory. But in the theater of services, we have to add 3 extra Ps. We add people, because your actors are literally the service. We add process, which is your meticulously planned script. And we add physical evidence. Think about the carefully curated signature smell of a luxury hotel lobby. That is physical evidence designed to reassure the customer. In services, the actors, the script, and the stage are just as critical as the core product. Next up is Section 4, pricing and channel strategies. So we've set our stage, but how do businesses actually put a price tag on an invisible, perishable performance? Well, the absolute best answer to the pricing puzzle is yield management. Because an empty hotel room is revenue lost forever, businesses must constantly balance dynamic pricing with their perishable capacity. It's actually wild when you realize that an airline's algorithm might change the price of a single seat dozens of times in a single day based entirely on real-time demand. By dynamically shifting those prices, you extract the absolute maximum revenue from a strictly fixed number of seats.
But hey, pricing is only half the battle, right? Delivery is the other. Traditionally, services required a physical branch, direct, in-person interaction. Today, almost everyone uses an omni-channel approach, blending digital apps with physical visits, like when you use a mobile banking app and then visit the actual bank branch. But the true insight here isn't just that apps exist, it's all about friction. If a customer starts a process on your mobile app at midnight and walks into the branch the very next day, the digital and physical stages absolutely must share the exact same script. The second those channels disconnect, the customer feels that friction, and the illusion of the performance completely shatters.
Finally, we reach our climax in Section 5, the service recovery paradox. So what happens when the script gets completely thrown out the window and a service just fails? Take a second and recall the time you arrived at a hotel at maybe 2 a.m., absolutely exhausted, only to find the front desk had lost your reservation. Think about that visceral, incredibly frustrating pain in that exact moment. But more importantly, think about how the company reacted. Did they hide behind a computer screen and quote company policy, or did they step up and own the disaster?
The way they step up leads us to one of the most counterintuitive concepts in business. Customers who experience a service failure but receive excellent recovery become more loyal than if no failure had occurred at all. This is the service recovery paradox, and it completely defies traditional logic. It means a brilliantly handled complaint isn't a disaster at all. It's actually a hidden, highly profitable gift. But there's a catch for sure. It requires genuine, authentic empathy. A robotic apology script? Yeah, that'll actually make the paradox backfire. But when you solve a problem fairly and humanely, you breed a level of fierce, long-lasting loyalty that standard marketing budgets literally cannot buy.
We can actually tie this entire philosophy together with a really simple gardening analogy. Step 1 is planting the seed. That's your customer acquisition. Step 2 is constantly watering and fertilizing through consistent, high-quality CRM, or customer relationship management. And step 3 is quickly pruning broken branches. That's your service recovery. The fatal strategic flaw most companies make is spending their entire budget on buying new seeds while completely ignoring the pruning. If you don't care for the broken branches when things go wrong, your customer lifetime value just dies. But tend to the whole garden and you yield an amazing harvest of word-of-mouth advocates who practically do your marketing for you.
Which brings us to our final provocative question for you to ponder today. Where is the moment of truth in your business right now? Remember, every single time a customer interacts with your people, your process, or your physical evidence, it's an audition for their future loyalty. They are constantly judging your performance on that stage. So find those crucial moments, perfect your script, and empower your actors to handle the unexpected. Thank you so much for joining me for this visual guide. Now go out there and put on an incredible show.